Alright, I should be recording another draft physics video presentation. Comments. Yay. Might as well, just for fun. Okay. So Nathan Trigg. P.S. I'm subscribed to your channel, so I respect you to some point. Thank you. I have a basic understanding of electrics, physics, and trying to improve. Aren't we all? May have been slightly inebriated when I placed a space between thunderbolts. Well, it's an excuse, I guess. Alright, I'll accept it. But, yeah. Don't do that. Physics and drinking don't mix. Something like that. We should put this on yeah. Smiley faces. Yeah. It's a better background, right? Ironic and such. Little Ken Wheelers. Anyway, DraftScience at 9 o'clock. I am here to present my theory and to debunk the mainstream. Yes, that's the primary purpose. Yet, I do argue with some dissidents, because they give all the dissidents a bad name. So I do some of that. But I have explained to individuals that I will not waste my time debunking their individual little philosophies, okay? Because I don't have time for that. I don't have time to debunk everyone. Alright, I'm not here to debunk anyone else. So I never said anyone else. So that's, again, see, you just can't tell the truth. Every time you type something, it's a lie. You just can't get anything accurate or correct. DraftScience 10 minutes later makes the 100th plus video about Ken Wheeler. So again, no one's supposed to debunk anybody else. Nobody is supposed to challenge anyone else's physics. Everybody is supposed to just say shit. See, you challenge me all the time, and no one's supposed to challenge Ken Wheeler. Is that your argument? What's your argument? I don't understand. Here you are arguing with me for some reason because you think it needs to be done because somehow I'm a menace. I'm not allowed to think somebody's a menace, and I'm not allowed to do exactly the same thing. And I'm hardly trolling Ken Wheeler because 90% of my arguments are about physics and the fact that his physics is incomprehensible gibberish. You people are just so amazingly hypocritical and duplicitous. Alright, how badly did Ken Wheeler kick your ass that you're still smarting from it after all these years? So again, how weird is this? I'm not allowed, so are you going to say the electric universe kicked my ass? I've done at least 10 videos on their nonsense. What are you saying? Richard Feynman kicked my ass? That's why I do videos explaining how he's wrong? Because he's kicking my ass? No, I think I'm kicking his dead ass. Alright, don't get me wrong. Oh, no, there's no way to get you right because you're such a fucking lying sack of crap. We love watching you play Frank Grimes. So again, references to who? This is what, you watch The Simpsons? I mean, didn't The Simpsons get old after like the 3rd season? I mean, that's when I quit. I mean, it was just the same shit over and over and over again. So keep the comedy coming by all means. It's fun for all the more delicious as we keep ignoring. Well, keep ignoring this because this is just nonsense. So I'm not even going to read the rest of it because it's just crap. Fuck. Alright, invoking a barrage of red herrings. Like what? What's a red herring? The fact that the two-slit experiment doesn't fit the math. It doesn't create a nice gradual on-off pattern. I could go on. That's a red herring. To distract everyone from the original red herring where you confuse spreading a light beam versus making copies of a light beam. Brilliant. So you just don't understand that the spreading comes at specific angles. Right? I mean, that's what it does, right? The light is spread, but it's obviously not spread consistently. I mean, Professor Lewin would explain this to you. There's a pattern, an on-off pattern. They call it interference. destructive interference. There's constructive interference, and then right next to it is destructive interference, and then there's constructive again. You do understand that the light doesn't just spread, but it spreads with a pattern of on-off. You do understand that's how the physical reality is. I didn't make the physical reality, jackass. That's how it works. So the light's both diverging and turning on and off. That's just a fact. You're too stupid? Yeah, you're too fucking stupid. So yeah, fuck this. I mean, there's absolutely no reason I have to put up with nonsense like this. I mean, this is some of the stuff you have to come here with some knowledge. And I have to watch enough videos to know what the facts are. I mean, that's just a fundamental fact of the situation where surfaces cause light to both bend and do bend at specific angles. It's just a fact. Alright, so that's the favorite YouTube channel thing. Invoking a barrage of red herrings. Didn't we already do this? I must have blocked somebody else. Copyright, brilliant. Okay, so I don't know who I blocked. Sorry about that. Yeah, can't be bothered undoing it. Sorry. So yeah, create a sock account. Yeah, there's no undo button, unfortunately. So I have to go actually through and try to figure out what name it was. Was that Tutor Guy or something? Okay, I'll try to find that. Sorry about that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, this guy, right? I wonder if I can, let's see if I can unblock him. I think that's the same guy. Let's see. Report user, no. Well, you used to be able to do that. Can't do it anymore. Well, let's see what happens when I hit the report. Unblock, there we go. Alright, I fixed it already. Damn, I'm good. Yeah, okay, yeah, right. Make a mess, fix a mess. Okay, well, I did, alright? I did fix it, right? Alright, science, please. I doubt it. I'm not sure whether to laugh or cry at this guy. Whatever. I mean, the channel has a name. I certainly am a known character. But whatever. After a good few hours of trolling, yeah, that's what we'll call it, through his videos and reading the paper on his website, I can see that he clearly has some large and usually fatal misunderstandings. I don't know how they're usually fatal. I mean, that's just retarded. Misunderstandings of the concepts in modern physics. Yeah, well, if you could get to a detail, that would be so super, buddy. And why don't you didn't through your trolling, you didn't notice the videos where I'm asking direct questions, like, do photons split into two wavitons and then interfere with each other, or do two separate photons interfere with each other? Because physics seems to be saying two things there. What's the right answer? What actually happens in an interferometer? Does the single photon split in two and take both paths? Or do two different photons take different paths and then interfere with each other later? Why don't you give me an answer to my questions, lame ass? Alright. I can see that he clearly... Well, anyway, fatal. It's just really stupid. I watched a few of his commentaries on Walter Lewin's lectures. Yeah, those are the tamest of the videos, right? And the ones that are there's only a few that are really important to watch, like where Walter Lewin is saying there's two voltages in the same location and it's fundamentally retarded. I mean, who could take that? Who knows anything about any old physics or new physics would be stupid enough to think that's actually happening, that there's two different voltages in exactly the same location? What asshole would think that's possible? All right. Anyway, during which he often asks some completely understandable questions for someone with his level of misunderstanding. So again, this is all just nonsense talk. Can you actually get to a fucking point, jackass? and I presume a lack of training in mathematics. So again, what training do you need in mathematics? The formulas, okay, are just a bunch of addition, multiplication, and division, right? I mean, there's nothing that complicated. And all the little symbols just represent fucking goddamn variables, right, jackass? So why don't you explain to me the ethics or the continuity or the consistency problem where in the single slit, the variable, A, let's call it, is the width of the slit. And then in the double slit experiment, it's the width of the impediment. Does that make sense to you? Is that called continuity? Is that called consistency? Why is that, jackass? Oh, because it's about the distance between the surfaces, douchebag. The surfaces are all that matter. Okay, openings, closings, it doesn't matter. Surface. It's the distance between the surface that dictates what the fucking angle is, douchebag. You're the one who has the misunderstanding, stupid fuck. Rude, stupid fuck. Alright, some of his incorrect interpretations of phenomena in physics. Well, again, you're going to cite some specifics, douchebag, are somewhat similar to what I see when teaching. Oh, yes, you're not teaching, you're retarding, okay, with a bunch of religious jargon. All right, you don't even understand anything about the real physical universe because you've turned it into a bunch of wavy unicorn piss. You little fruit. You fruit loop. All right, A-level students or undergrads, except when they are usually able to understand what went wrong after. Yeah, well, I'm going to prove you wrong, douchebag. Yeah, I've already offered thousands of dollars and all of that kind of crap, but I'm going to prove you wrong. And it's really good that you have a channel, all right, so you can be accountable for this crap comment. All right, and I'm going to hold it against you, fuckhead. I'm going to trail you through your life with this and just rag on you. Okay, what a douchebag you jackasses are. You arrogant, fucking, weak evidence douchebags. You have the incredibly weak evidence for your stupid douchebag theory. And here you are marching around thinking you're so above everybody else. And everybody else has misunderstandings and is retarded compared to you. Fuck you. You're the retards. You're little religious dupes. Jeez, wave particle duality. You can't smell that as a bullshit compromise? Oh, we can't figure out the answer, so let's pretend we have an answer by calling it both things. I mean, it's such a cop-out. A gutless cop-out. Alright, anyway. Except they are usually able to understand what went wrong after. He also seems to be somewhat obsessed with the double slit experiment. Well, yes, the foundational experiment of quantum mechanics, asshole. Ask one of your professors. Did you have a professor when you went to college? Was there actually a professor there? Well, why don't you ask the professor what the most important experiment was to the motivation and impetus to create quantum mechanics? And I guess his answer is going to be the double slit experiment. Shit for brain. It takes it to be the only demonstration of wave-like nature of light. Yeah, that's right. It's the first and the one that Professor Lewin calls it the nail in the coffin evidence. All right. Richard Feynman, of course, says, fuck you, it's not a wave. But none of you people pay any attention to that. You know, you think Feynman's the god of quantum mechanics, yet he says, no, it's not a wave, it's a particle, shithead. But you ignore that fact. This is just not correct. A simple Google search will direct you to a huge number of experiments. Like what? What do you mean a huge number of what? What experiments? just more hype. So this is like Pyrrho. All this hype. Oh, it's the most proven theory in the history of mankind. Oh, it's predicted everything. We predicted the moon is made out of cheese and everything with our quantum mechanics. You didn't predict shit. Anyway, or he could just pick up a book on solid state physics. Yeah, well, I've done plenty of solid state electronics. Right, and guess what? If you go back to, say, the 70s when all this stuff started, the integrated circuit, all that kind of crap, nobody was talking about quantum mechanics. Nobody was worried about entanglement or any of that horse shit. And they somehow figured out how to make integrated circuits. Or even just Griffin's classical electrodynamics. So again, and there's no citation to a single quote here. Not a single argument I've made is he addressing as what I've stated that's wrong. Not one single quote here. Just a bunch of shit talking. Okay, that being said, I imagine the level of mathematics would be a bit out of his scope. Well, again, the mathematics is sort of irrelevant. It's the theory that matters. It's the model that matters. So you want to keep pretending the math is the story. It's really not. It's just it's simplification of the story. It's plucking out a couple of relevant variables and saying, there, that's the story. No, the story's bigger than that. The story is more nuanced than that. And Maxwell's equations are a perfect illustration where all you assholes think the field lines are the secondary lines, the emergent lines, when Maxwell and Faraday will tell you, no, the real lines that matter are the ones going out and the ones going in. But you imbeciles are too stupid to figure even that out. All right. That being said, I imagine the level of mathematics would be okay. There is a part of me that would love to sit here and type any numerous paragraphs explaining to him the vast amount of evidence for the current accepted standard model of particle physics. Yeah, what a pile of crap. You don't have any vast amount of evidence. I've gone through the evidence. The weighing of an electron experiment. Lots of experiments I've shown here. Stern-Gerlach. Lots of them. All right, and I've explained how this is all fucking bullshit. You still haven't explained how an interferometer works. Why don't you explain to me why the geometry for jamming is identical, okay, to the wave equation in terms of explaining why radar interferes with radar in the two-slit manner. And yet you assholes are convinced it must be wave interference when, no, it could just be signal jamming. But there is also a part of me that knows it will do nothing to convince someone who either cannot understand. So if you don't believe in their God, oh, you're a heathen. You can't understand how Jesus is Lord. No, I can understand that this stupid fucking bullshit, this stupid idea you have that a photon is made out of two different fucking waves, when it doesn't have anything, it isn't magnetic, you can't bend it with magnetism, and you're telling me it's made out of magnetism. Then you're saying there's something called an electrical wave, which is totally retarded, because there's no fucking such thing as an electrical wave. I mean, you can't smell the shit you've fallen for? It is just so stupid. You really think there's two magical fields out there made out of who knows what that are never detectable in any experiment ever? You really think that's what makes a photon? God, you're stupid. Anyway, who cannot understand, refuses to accept basic high school physics. So again, the fact that you've all fallen for it, all right? The fact that you nuns are at the, beating the kids over the head with your nonsense that you got to say some Holy Ghost or you're going to go to hell. I mean, it's a fable. You have no evidence for your UFO theory. It's just Sasquatch nonsense. You've got nothing. Also, you don't get me started on the paper on his website that claims to lay the groundwork for unification of gravity with other fundamental forces. Yeah, it explains how they all have the same speed, and basically they're all straight line forces, and the consequence of a straight line force is basically Mach gravity, and that certainly explains gravity. Once you polarize the force, then you can explain magnetism, and electricity is already... I mean, it is magnetism, for fuck's sake. I almost pissed myself twice while reading it. So more nonsense. So don't just quote it. Can you quote it, pussy? Okay, anyway. Works very well as a comedy act for physics. So all this crap, not a single specific argument. So why don't you go to my magnetism video? There's subject videos. There's one or two on magnetism. And why don't you explain how that theory can't be correct? Why don't you explain how there's one experiment in the history of experiments that demonstrates why that explanation isn't the correct explanation. And my explanation actually explains why there's attraction and repulsion, where your silly virtual photon, what we've proven our conventional theory that the virtual photon exists, which is a non sequitur. I mean, it's just gibberish, virtual photon. You don't account for any of the energy in the universe. Okay, you've accepted Einstein's silly geometry did it. There doesn't have to be a force acting on it. No, it's just magical geometry. Tells the little frickin' electrons and protons that they have to move in a direction. Nothing has to interfere with them. Nothing has to affect them. It's just the magical geometry. I mean, how do you fall for that crap? Okay. So, maybe I should block John. Okay. Oh, don't bother. He constantly replaces other people's arguments with his own. I mean, amazing. I'm sitting here reading your fucking tripe. I play Feynman's video. I play Professor Lewin. I play Leonard Susskind. I play their fucking videos. And you fucking cowards say this fucking obnoxious crap. Yes, you're getting blocked. Even when he is reading the comments live. I mean, it's not good enough. You can't paraphrase me accurately ever. Ever. You fucking you're just perpetual fucking liars. I mean, I can't believe you can do this in public. You can say this fucking, you can lie this overtly. Well, it's because you're a sock fucking account. I mean, amazing. You are such fucking cowards to say this kind of tripe. Who gives your arguments more of a fair shot than I do? I sit there, I read your crap. I play their videos right through. I don't sit there and quote mine them. I don't do the gimmicks you jackasses do, which is just take one little clip, play it 3 or 4 times over again. I don't do any of that nonsense, you fucking lying cheaters. God, you people are so fucking dishonest. Alright, anyway. That's not a testament to his honesty. That's a testament to his batshit insanity. Oh, yeah, right. You're proving something with these comments. Again, I'll point out, there's not a single fucking physics argument in any of these comments. The fact that anyone is even capable of doing such direct straw manning still stuns me. So again, this ambiguous straw man he keeps referencing. Where's this straw man, fucker? Why don't you cite the fucking straw man? Oh, great. This will be perfect. He was even given a book reference to a leak explaining Kirchhoff's integral theorem, which again, they're actually do believe there can be 2 voltages in the same location. These fucking idiots actually believe there can be 2 voltages in the same location. That the pressure of the electrons can be 2 different pressures in the same fucking place. These fucking idiots believe that. Amazing stupidity. They don't understand that when a magnet, all right, an electromagnet is shoved into a field of wires, that the probe wires are going to pick up the magnetism just like the fucking wires in the experiment. They don't even understand that the wire in the probes is made out of the same kind of fucking wire that the wires in the experiment are made out of. They don't even understand that. God, how fucking stupid can you people be? Alright, which answers many of his confusions on the double slit experiment. Oh, you've got to be kidding. I mean, you really got to be. I mean, I'll copy this because this has got to be hilarious. That this has something to do with the double slit experiment. So why doesn't Professor Lewin point out it? Why doesn't the professor at Yale point it out? Why doesn't Professor Lewin point it out? Why doesn't Leonard Susskind point it out? If this is the real physics, why doesn't any of them reference it? You people are just so fucking full of shit. Why didn't Feynman reference it? Okay, his response to delete the comment and go back to the same old tripe even when it's been refuted. So you haven't refuted a single fucking thing. That's just a grotesque fucking lie. I've asked for your links. I've asked you to email me your links because you complain, oh, we can't post a link somehow. Email the link to me. Show me your good physics, you fucking liars. But you can't lie here constantly. Can you make a physics argument without lying? God damn. So yes, blocked. All evidence you state will be met with denial and distortion. So what evidence was there in this fucking post? So you people are just so full of shit. Where was there any evidence in this shit? Where? Oh, you people are just such liars. Denial and distortion. How could I distort the evidence when you didn't present any evidence? In the same way, matter can't exceed the speed of light. Again, where have I ever stated that? Again, if there's anything I've said for 10 solid years, it's that Nothing ever goes faster than the speed of light. You're the people who believe in spooky action. I don't. You're the ones who thinks there's extraluminal speed, that somehow there's entanglement and something can instantaneously know the state of some other thing. That's your bullshit, not my bullshit. Yeah, and my title here is Draft Physics, idiot, at DraftScience. Will never be convinced that his theory is in any way incorrect. Well, I can't be convinced by non-evidence. So yes, show me some real evidence, and then maybe I can be convinced. But where's your evidence of real gravitational lensing? I'm the one who's pointed out you've never redone the editing experiment in any kind of credible way. We have all these satellites up in space and not one of them has tried it. I mean, you're the one with incredibly weak evidence who are walking around saying you have the truth, and you don't have anything. You have a sack of empty promises as evidence. No hard evidence of any of this shit. Any of it. All right, it's a fundamental rule of the universe. The fact that I'm right and you are wrong is going to be demonstrated because my theory actually works. My model actually explains why things happen. Your theory is geometry does it, virtual photon thingy does it, and it doesn't even explain how it does the magical part of attraction and repulsion at the same time. You're the ones with no theory. Photons are magically bent by gravity by twice as much versus all other matter in the universe. So the only matter bent twice as much by gravity are photons. By the magic Einstein says so rule. God, you people are such scum. So I'll give Bob another chance. But he's not going to use it to any good purpose. I wonder if your condescending attitude gets your ass kicked a lot. By what? So this is another Tesla lover. By what? Old men and sissy women. Those are the only people defending Tesla. I've never seen anybody with any kind of, hair on their balls. Okay, who's a Tesla lover? Anyway, you're all Fruit Loops. Look at your fucking icon. Another, look, I like to go surfing. Little surfer pussy. To say Tesla didn't invent anything, that's right. He really didn't do shit. Compared to all the other names you can name of the same era, his contribution was fundamentally meaningless. It is one of the most idiotic statements ever, and you proved it with what evidence? And why did you need to have your ugly mug in the picture the whole time? Because I'm talking. It's a video. It's called YouTube. People make videos with them talking. Do you send CNN the same kind of critique? Why are the news? Why are the readers in the videos? I don't want to see the news readers. Oh, fuck you. All right, so let's go to science, please. Oh, let's see if there's any spam first. All right, read your comment again. Okay, so no. Nothing in the spam folder. Alright, so let's go to this Science Please Assholes video. So he hasn't made a video in 6 months. So let's go to his quantum mechanics. Let's see. How does AI work? Well, I'm sure he can't get that one right. Oh, look, he's got to put goofy faces on people. Can't make a straight up argument. Alright, so let's quantum mechanics 1.1 introduction. Let's see what this shit is.
Physics is roughly broken down into 5 core areas: classical mechanics, thermodynamics, electromagnetism...
douchebag, this thunderfoot accent fucker. That's what, anyway, fucking foreigners. But anyway.
Relativity and quantum mechanics. You need to have a solid understanding of all of these things before you can really
all of these things.
That being said, quantum mechanics is pretty special. It works off some seemingly unobvious principles, and many of the phenomena it predicts have an underlying probabilistic nature.
He must have sped this up a little bit. He is talking awful fast. But anyway. Says you it has a probabilistic nature. Again, it's, that's Feynman's theory. So clearly it comes out as the law of averages, but the probability is being created by something. And it can be created by something as simple as a clock cycle. That, electrons have a certain movement. If you hit them here, that's going to be different than when you hit one here, or if you hit one here. And if you hit them in a different position, they'll do a different thing. I mean, it's the simplest pattern in the universe: on, off, on, off, on, off.
It's kind of the recipe for a conceptual disaster, which leads to often.
So this isn't quantum mechanics, right? Quantum mechanics has very consistent probabilities, so this wobbly illustration has nothing to do with quantum mechanics.
Being misunderstood by those without much experience in the field. It's actually quite difficult to find one coherent guide for quantum mechanics.
Right. So you don't even have a coherent and consistent theory, right? Because 1/3 of the physicists believe in Copenhagen, and 1/3 believe in many worlds, and 1/3 believe in multiverses, or whatever the fuck. Or no, the Boeing fucking whatever the thing is, the compromise.
Trying to lead you continuously from the first discovery of quantum phenomena all the way up to quantum fields and particle physics. I'm aiming to do just that.
Yes, you haven't said anything yet, so let's see if you can get to the point.
Something kind of like that. So I'm going to explain quantum mechanics.
So he says he is convinced. I mean, he has solid proof. There's no way a reasonable person could doubt this wacky bullshit that he's going to actually preach. And it's all based on these mushy experiments regarding the smallest, fastest little bits of crap in the universe. And he's so sure he's got the right answer. And the answer is insanely stupid. Virtual photon.
All theories in physics have some kind of scale that they're applicable at. Quantum mechanics is a theory of the small, but its consequences can be seen on a larger scale.
Well, frankly, the only consequence that can be seen is things like the double slit experiment. Anything bigger than that, you're not going to see any of these effects. So that's also horseshit. Just trying to see if I can get more volume out of this thing. My screen doesn't show me all the damn choices here, which is really kind of irritating. It doesn't fit in the screen. I'm using Linux and it's all shifted, a 1/2 inch the wrong way. I can't figure out how to fix it.
Ultimately, it's quantum mechanics that's behind things like contact forces, chemistry, and statistical physics. Quantum mechanics is an incredibly fundamental...
Just more blah, 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 just gibberish.
...theory of physics. Centuries of classical physics had to happen first before the modern era of quantum mechanics was forced into existence in the early 1900s.
Right, 1930s, right? When they just said, let's give up. We can't figure it out, so let's just give up, come up with some stupid duality core shit that doesn't make any sense at all, and pretend that photons are waves in an ether. But you won't say ether, even though that's exactly what you're saying by saying there's a wave in something. You're basically saying that the magnetic field and the electric fields are some kind of ether fields.
Let's start there. Before quantum mechanics came about, theoretical physicists pretty much thought they were done from their perspective. I mean, Einstein was cracking the nut on how to describe gravity, and Maxwell had produced one of them.
So again, how to describe gravity. Gravity had already been described, okay? So, and again, we already know that Einstein's addition is so useless to anybody as a practical matter, and it can be explained as being, okay, he's just picking up on the subtle fact that the center of the sun, at the center of the sun's, the center of gravity of the sun is actually moving, and that's what he's accounting for in his equations, where Newton didn't bother, because Newton thought the sun was so massive that no part of the sun could actually be moved to another location.
Most beautiful theories of all time, electromagnetism, which worked pretty damn well apart from the infinite self-energy.
Yes, they all still work. The point is that Newton isn't destroyed by Einstein. That's just absolute rubbish. The inverse square law is all Einstein is basically describing. And again, the only difference is this tiniest of difference between the fact that Mercury's orbit, because Mercury is so close to the sun, it's affected by the precession of the sun. So Einstein's theory is basically just saying the sun precesses, and that's all. And this doubling of the speed of light, the fact that photons are twice as affected by gravity, is just because Einstein made a silly declaration that all acceleration is the same, when no, all acceleration isn't exactly the same.
Of the electron. Usually, a new theory is developed when an old one simply fails to explain what's observed. Feynman really captured this when he said, "It doesn't matter how beautiful your theory is, it doesn't matter how smart you are. If it doesn't agree with experiment, it's wrong."
Right, and the point is that if you really test your mathematics 2 experiments, it doesn't fit. So with the 2-slit experiment and the single-slit experiment, in the 2-slit experiment, your Schrodinger equation doesn't account for the 2 patterns. It doesn't account for the envelope of the single-slit containing the double-slit pattern. So there is no explanation for the 2 patterns. In the single-slit, it certainly doesn't explain anything without Huygens, completely dependent on some silly notion that there's an infinite number of microwaves being shoot out of every photon, which is just absolute fucking shit that Feynman didn't believe in. Feynman was no fan of Huygens' nonsense. Feynman didn't believe photons were waves. He clearly stated it. I've played the clip.
So, which screw-up caused the need for quantum mechanics? Physicists at the time were investigating black bodies. A black body is just what we call a perfect emitter and absorber of electromagnetic radiation. Such objects don't really exist in reality, but it's a good approximation for many scenarios. For example, the sun is fairly well approximated as a black body.
Yeah, well, everything ends up being, okay, at equilibrium, so even that's sort of a horseshit statement that there aren't any when they're all over the place, really. Everything achieves equilibrium for a period of time.
No, seriously, bear with me. All bodies are constantly emitting electromagnetic radiation, but of what frequency? Is it infrared, microwave, gamma rays, X-rays? Well,
yeah, and what if it's not at a frequency? What if the frequency is, too low or too high, very high or very low? And what if there's not enough of it? It's not a long enough ray of frequency. We can't detect it. What is it then? Oh, maybe it's gravity, asshole.
The answer is every frequency, but in different amounts. For example, an object may emit far more infrared and microwave radiation than it does radio waves or X-rays. Or a neutron star in deep space will emit far more radio waves than it does infrared or microwave radiation.
Right, and how is this at all dependent on any wacky quantum mechanics bullshit? Right? Just has to do with how many cannonballs. If you have the cannonballs really close together, then you get a whole bunch of them in a moment of time. If you have the cannonballs further apart, then you have there's not as many of them in a moment of time. And all you're doing really is counting the cannonballs. The cannonballs are the quanta, jackass, and you're too stupid to even figure that out.
The spectrum of a body gives us the exact distribution of this radiation. The spectrum of a black body is of course dependent on its temperature. As you change the temperature, the amount of internal energy of the overall system will change, and in turn you affect the amount of energy it's able to radiate. Okay, this all sounds fine. Well,
and how does it radiate it? So do you even understand how it radiates? No, because you don't even have a theory of how electrons actually produce photons. Because you don't even understand the force that's holding electrons, repelling electrons from each other, and attracting electrons to protons. You have no understanding of that force. And that force is actually photons, idiot.
Problems. How do we get from here to uncertainty principles, entanglement, spin, and quantum?
Yeah, it's nonsense, right. Spin that's not spin. So why use the word spin when you don't really mean spin? Half spin. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, right? Quarter spin. Yeah, that's just nonsense gibberish. An entanglement is completely unproven gibberish. Just absolute bullshit.
Fields. Well, when experimental physicists went away and measured...
Do you know what causes polarization? Why don't you do a video on polarization and give me your theory on what polarization actually is? And then you can explain how all of these entanglement experiments that are dependent on understanding polarization, how you are confident that those experiments, they understand what the probability is they understand what's happening when things go through polarizing filters. When clearly they don't, because you can fool them by just sticking that third filter in, right? 2 polarizing filters, stick the third filter in, more light gets through. Or why? Oh, that's right, because it must be changing the photon. So the filter isn't a passive filter after all, is it? No, it's an active filter. It's actually changing the photons that get through. So how can you do an experiment where you're saying we're just testing the photon when clearly you're not just testing it, you're changing it? And you're too stupid to understand that.
The spectrum of black bodies. We found a distribution that had a very distinct shape for a given temperature, but this was completely different to the spectrum predicted by theorists. theory predicted the classical Rayleigh-Jeans.
So again, more nonsense that there was only a retard would think, oh, there's no limit to the system. So this is like Einstein's infinite well, right, of gravity. Well, I think only an idiot says there's an infinite amount of gravity. So, only an idiot would think, oh, we can have an infinite number of frequency. We can have as much as frequencies can get as small as we want. It's no consequence. Electrons can vibrate at any speed, even though they have a certain weight and a certain mass, and that they probably can't vibrate at any speed. And you're too stupid to figure that out again. Again, electrons are creating the photons. You think electrons can create any kind of photon easy. No, the point is that it's hard for them to create stuff like X-rays.
Where the spectrum was supposed to be proportional to the frequency squared. The fact that this diverged to infinity was already worrying enough. Infinities are generally not good in physics.
Yeah, that's right. Yet you sit there, you're completely dependent on your Huygens infinity.
Problem arises around the ultraviolet region, where the classical prediction starts to seriously diverge from the experimental data. This was the ultraviolet catastrophe. So
there was no catastrophe. This is just a fact that existed, and they didn't have an explanation for it. So that was their catastrophe, is that it didn't fit with their stupid notions. And all they have to do is change their stupid notions, and then it's perfectly understandable.
Physicists end up with this complete disparity. The ultraviolet catastrophe is partly a consequence of the theorem of equipartition of energy, the key idea in thermodynamics. The equipartition of energy states that for a system in equilibrium at a temperature T, each degree of freedom contributes on average 1/2 kT of energy, where K is Boltzmann's constant. Let's just break down what this means. Firstly, a degree of freedom is just one of the ways that a system can store energy. For example, a particle moving in a straight line has 1 degree of freedom, as it can only store energy by translational motion in the x direction. A particle moving in 3 dimensions has 3 degrees of freedom. It can store energy in translational motion in the x, y, and z directions. So this particle would have an average kinetic energy of 3/2 kT.
And he's saying somehow this is a rational way to understand energy, when energy is really just the motion itself. Whether it's in 2 dimensions or 3 doesn't change how much energy something has. So again, more gibberish.
An electromagnetic wave in a cavity with 2 polarization modes would have an average energy of kT. Each polarization mode contributes 1/2 kT of energy. It's important to note that energy can be stored...
Right, just as dopey as Maxwell's division of the B field and the E field. And the only difference being is whether you have an R squared that you're dividing by, or an R cubed that you're dividing by, or an R that you're dividing by, based on whether it's a monopole or a dipole. And so they make them into completely different forces, even though they act exactly the same. The forces are the same, and all you're doing is spreading them over much larger surfaces in the sense of charge, electric, and magnets are smaller. And that's it. It's the same force.
In a potential.
It's just one's diluted by being a B field. The B field means there's 2 poles. That means there's attraction and repulsion at the same time. Obviously, that's going to be a diluted field. Duh.
2. They also add degrees of freedom to the system. Okay, back to the ultraviolet catastrophe. To investigate the spectrum of black bodies, physicists were measuring the radiance of black bodies, defined as the radiated power per unit frequency per unit area. Keeping this definition in mind will help us actually calculate it in theory. Let's consider an area A, radiating electromagnetic waves.
So let's understand, all they're basically saying here is there's always a certain number of quanta. All right, so if you have it in the one form, the furnace just came on. If you have it in one form, where it's coming, like I said, if you're shooting bullets, and you only have 50 bullets, right? You can shoot the bullets really fast in 1 second, and that's your 50 bullets, or you can shoot your bullets really slow and take a half hour. Same amount of energy, no different. But of course the effects can be very different. The bullets coming very fast will seem like a lot more energy than the ones that are coming very slow. And certainly if you're trying to tip something over, it's important. Timing is everything.
It's perpendicular to the surface and asks the question, how much power is being radiated per unit frequency? Well, the power is going to be equal to the energy radiated per unit frequency divided by the time taken to radiate. We know we'll have to include a factor of 1/2, as half of the energy will be radiated inward.
So this is somehow an explanation of quantum mechanics. this explains how they've proven photons are waves. There's no proof in here anywhere.
And not out. We could imagine the radiation is sweeping.
Certainly none of this convinced Feynman that photons were waves. Feynman knew all of this crap, and he wasn't convinced they were waves.
Out a volume as it travels with area A and length d, which is equal to the speed of light multiplied by time. And we can relate this to the energy by writing it as the energy density per unit frequency multiplied.
Right, again, and the density is just talking again about how many get into your block of space in a certain amount of time. If this is the amount of time you have this little square, how many get in that block in an amount of time? And that's it. That's the energy.
By the volume. We're using the derivative of the energy density with respect to frequency because we're interested in the power radiated at specific frequencies, not the power radiated over some finite frequency range. Now, we could just move on and consider how to deal with the energy density, but first note that this is the energy being radiated perpendicular to the surface. But in general, the energy will be radiated at some angle theta, so the effective area is
yeah, it says you, some angle theta. Oh, I hate this English crap. Anyway, it'll be radiated in all directions. Yeah. That's the way straight line force works. No evidence of any waves.
Cos theta, and the effective speed of the wave is c cos theta.
Just a frequency.
So we instead get an expression that involves a cos squared term. To account for the total energy radiated over all angles, we can average this function over theta, which gives an extra factor of 1/2. Now, for the energy density term, we could write this as the energy of each mode.
Right, but if you're capturing all the energy, like an infinite plane and charge arguments, then there's no half. But whatever. Continue.
Multiplied by the number of modes per unit volume per unit frequency, the density of states. From the equipartition of energy, we know that an electromagnetic wave with two polarizations is going to have an average energy of kT, so we can put that into our expression. Now we just need to figure out this density of states term, the number of modes per unit volume per unit frequency. To work out the density of states, let's consider our electromagnetic wave in the cavity of a black body. Now, if you've studied any wave phenomena before, you'll know that a wave stuck in a cavity, or analogously a wave fixed on a string, sets up a standing wave pattern. The incoming wave reflects off one side, and the reflected wave goes on to constructively and destructively interfere with the incoming wave. The wave is going to be described by some sinusoidal function, which should be equal to 0 at both ends of the cavity. This is what we call a boundary condition. The name is quite self-explanatory. The boundary condition...
Right, but these aren't standing waves. These aren't ropes or any of that other kind of crap. So these are just harmonics, basically. And again, this idea of any destructive or constructive interference, what experiment proves that? What experiment have you done demonstrating any constructive or destructive interference inside a black body cavity? Oh, that's right, you don't have any. All you have is a theory. You don't have any evidence.
It restricts the wave vector k to integer multiples of pi over L. The wave vector is just quantity equal to 2 pi over the wavelength. This is a one-dimensional representation, but it can easily be extended to 3 dimensions, adding 2 more boundary conditions. We could consider each cavity mode as being...
Alright, so there's no experiment that proves any of this shit. So again, this isn't science. This is just made up crap.
Represented by these 3 wave vector numbers, kx, ky, and kz. Even more abstractly as a vector in k space, where rather than using...
Yeah, a vector in k space. So what, why don't you just say virtual photon now? I mean, why don't you just go all the way to silly?
X, y, z coordinates, we're using the wave vectors as our basis. Let's just remind ourselves of what we're trying to do here.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, explain to me what you're trying to do. You're calling this something to do with quantum mechanics, which is basically wave mechanics. That's what they've turned quantum mechanics in. Photons are some sort of non-existent amorphous thing that doesn't have a position and a location and a velocity and all that stuff and a vector and all that crap. That somehow it's going from here to here to here. It's bouncing all over the place in some sort of who knows where it is kind of state. And you detect that by making the photon go next to a surface of matter, which is covered in electrons, which interact with photons all the time. I mean, it's the only way we can detect a photon is to have it hit an electron. Can you show me an experiment where we detect a photon, by having it do something other than hit an electron? Could you show me that experiment somewhere?
find the density of states in the cavity, which we can identify as a function of frequency from its definition as the number of states per unit volume per unit frequency. So to find that, we need to know how many states there are. This is where the k-space representation really comes in handy. Each state is a vector in k-space, but only for positive k values. For a given radius, we could consider the area of this quarter hemisphere, and then consider an infinitesimal shell of thickness dk around this and ask how many states are in the shell. The number of states n is the volume of the shell divided by the volume per state, with a factor of 1/8 as we're only considering positive k, and a factor of 2 to account for the fact that there are two polarizations. Both volumes can be written down quite easily. The volume of the shell is 4 pi k squared times the infinitesimal thickness dk. To get the volume
the infinitesimal thickness dk. So again, more crap, right? I mean, obviously made up crap. So they can't even define the thickness.
A state, we consider a small cubic volume occupied by each state with length k over n. The volume per state is then pi cubed over v, where v is the total volume of the cavity. So we can go back and write the number of states per unit volume as a function of k. Writing this as a function of frequency is just a matter of writing k as 2 pi nu over c and changing the differential. Then we can...
Right, so where's your experiment? Where do you solve this equation, where you actually take a physical experiment and actually solve it with these equations? Where do you do that?
Easily identify the density of states as 8 pi nu squared over c cubed. When we recombine all of these terms and divide by the area, we get the radians and our frequency squared divergence. Whilst there's nothing wrong with this theory from a classical perspective, it simply didn't match experiment, and when this is the case in physics, a new theory is needed.
So this is his explanation of quantum mechanics, is to do all this gibberish and say it didn't match the experiment, so now we have to add some other factor, which is loop-de-doo factor.
Experiments that can explain new results. This is what led to quantum mechanics.
It really isn't. So I don't know. Where's your demonstration of Bohr and Einstein discussing this in the formation of quantum mechanics? Why don't you show me Feynman discussing this in discussing quantum mechanics? But what I've seen him discuss is glass reflections, lenses, and the two-slit experiment. I never saw him touch this at all. So you want to give me the reference to the Feynman book where this is what he says is the foundation of quantum mechanics? This is why we invented quantum mechanics, is because of this bullshit? No, I don't think so.
Hey, thanks for checking out this first video in a new series I'm doing covering quantum mechanics. Sorry, it's been a while since the last video.
Yeah, it'd be a while till the next one, clearly. So whatever. Pile of shit. Alright, so he gets rewarded for this. 102 likes, 1 dislike. Nobody could understand. What the fuck was this? It didn't say anything. So let's see if we can see some of the comments. I mean, it was horribly boring. From my perspective, it just, like I said, I want to see experiments. I want to see you play with a bunch of numbers. I want to encourage you to keep going. This is great. No, it's crap. That's what it was. Hey there. Actually, first time seeing your channel. But definitely not the last. I'm 100% sure if starting a historical motivation rather than discovery fiction via tunneling and single electron scatter, for example. Tunneling is just such a pile of crap. More magic. Oh yeah, photons go faster than the speed of light. Sure they do. You should do a series on all 5 physics topics. Oh, there's 5 physics topics? Alright, whatever. LOL, this is ridiculously fast. This can only be used as a revision of someone who has already learned all his stuff. Well, clearly it's such a specific argument. And again, I didn't see where he proved anything, and his statement was basically experiments don't match the crap I just gave you. Just saw your video from Reddit post, nicely done, but my homie, there are too many formulas in your video. Yeah, there's no theory here, and there's certainly nothing like citing experiments. Let's see, teach quantum mechanics, have an auctioneer, so at least he got some critiques. This is pure gold. Truly excellent and well made. Pile of crap. Steaming crap. This little wavy crap. It's just crap. Stuff flies at a frequency. doesn't fly in little wavy things. Not happening. Waves in what? Ether. Where's your ether? Where's your experiment demonstrating your ether exists? Your little magnetic field. Where is it? What's it made out of? Where's the energy come from? Where does the energy come from? The magnet's just sitting there. How does it make stuff move? Where's the energy come from? When the other magnet moves towards it, where did the energy come from? No masses got burned. Nothing disappeared. No matter got converted into energy. Where did the energy come from? I mean, it's such a simple fucking question. Do you have a fucking answer? Where did the energy come from? So that's how they're breaking Newton, in the sense that Newton said a force has to act on something. Well, where's the force? What's the force made out of? Where did it come from? Virtual photon. Virtual photon. Come on. That's their brilliant solution. Let's just invent magic tons, invisitons, whatever, non-existons. And of course they have anti-non-existons. I guess those must be existons then. You people are just so full of shit. Ugh, it's disgusting. Let's see if there's anything in the subscriptions. Oh, tensor calculus. Pile of wasted time that is. Live call. Oh, here we go. This one ought to be good. So this is this Aaron whatever guy. So he's talking to Van der Burr. So he has another, so he has Dullard as a guy, and he must have some new other kook that he's, promoting. I'm sure they have a whole sob story about how they need $1 million to build some sort of fucking archaic ground, let's shoot some more lightning into the ground. Because, everybody knows, you can send power through the ground. Yeah, sure you can. Alright. You don't lose any of it. It doesn't spread or do any of that crap. You can just send it right to France. I can send a zillion volts to France by shooting it through the ground. Fucking idiots. Alright, real science of the EHT black hole. So he claims, they're claiming that there's some real science there. Yeah, right, sure. Again, I'll point out the obvious. What else have they taken a picture of with this technique? Where did they prove this technique works? Oh yeah, they didn't. Alright, so anyway. Nothing to see here, I don't think. Fermi Lab is boring. Science aside, momentum does not require mass. That doesn't make any sense. I don't even know if I want to go there. I mean, this is that asshole. I already debunked him. Fucking idiot. Maybe I'll do it. Whatever this guy is. It's not distant dumbass. What was the other one? Fake physics. Yeah, fake is physics. Momentum doesn't require mass. Yeah, it does, idiots. Fuck. It's just such crap. Bold statements, zero evidence. Near zero evidence. Effectively zero evidence. Anyway, enough. So, till the next time and such.